Hi everybody, Stephanie here. Today we are going to be making some clean and simple cards. Now, if you've followed my channel, you know this is outside my wheelhouse. This is not what I usually make, but I was inspired by a recent video by Natasha Foote, so I thought I would try my hand at my own clean and simple cards. So even though these are very simple, this is actually quite a challenge for me. So I'm going to be making these using some watercolor and just plain regular watercolor paper. The watercolor set that I'm using is linked down below. It's my favorite. I've mentioned it a lot, but I've used a lot of watercolor sets in the past, and this one is really the best that I've used. I'm going to be using these square dies from Spellbinders. They're part of their nesting essential set, and they have them in all shapes, but these are great because you can make little frames out of these very easily, and also cut down panels to size very easily. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to be making different frames of different sizes to use in our cards today. And I'm going monochromatic with the frames, so this is going to be white frames on a white card base. Again, keeping that clean and simple design, keeping things monochromatic helps with that, and so that's what we're going to do. What I'm going to do is just make the very center panel a watercolor panel. I put the die there just to kind of keep myself in the line, so when I'm making this panel I know exactly where to go and to try and keep a little white border around it that stays even across it. So that's why I have that die there. And I'm just going ahead and not doing anything super fancy now, going with kind of Ukrainian colors there. That was accidental, but the Ukrainian flag is sunflowers on a blue background, so this kind of backwards Ukrainian flag. But I thought that that was a good color. Those are contrasting colors, and so they go well together. I dropped a little bit of purple in there. So I had just done, a wash, and then I'm just adding in random colors to go with that. And it doesn't look very clean and simple right now, but again, when I put this panel on a white card base, it will go ahead and just stand out, even though it's a very, very small panel. I wasn't originally necessarily going to do flowers, but that's what these blobs kind of came out looking as. So that's what I decided to go ahead and do. I decided to make these little flower panels. And so you can see there that I'm just adding a little bit to just kind of even out that edge, but again, keeping it loose and keeping it, just very simple. I came across this set that I had from one of my recent hauls from Spellbinders, and these are just super simple flowers, just very small line drawings, and I thought, you know what, putting those right on top of what looks like already little flowers, the little blobs that I have there, just makes it work. And so these three simple flowers that came in this set I thought were just perfect for this. And then I'm just going to go ahead and draw in stems. Nothing fancy, again, just, with a black pen, just going to go draw in some stems. I think keeping this panel very small also helped with the simplicity of it. I think if it was a larger panel, I would have been inclined to try and fill up that space, but keeping it small helped me keep it simple. And layering these frames here helps give it some dimension, helps give it some interest, but that monochromatic look helps keep it simple and keeps the focus on those three little flowers in the center. There's our first card done. Super simple, super easy, very good for if you only have a limited amount of time to make some cards, but I think it's got a nice impact altogether. Now, keeping with that frame theme, I'm going to go ahead and create more squares in various sizes. And I'm just going to stick with this idea of a simple square in the center with some watercolor images on it, and then just layering it with the frames. You can see this time I went a little bit more deliberately, trying to make blobs of color where I thought I might be able to use those flower stamps. So, you could do it either way. You could be deliberate about making different blobs or shapes where you want to put something, or you could just leave it totally natural and just kind of go wherever the paint takes you. where I felt the blobs were maybe a little too dramatic, and I wanted to take some of that color off, kind of remove some of that. So the best way to do that when you're using watercolors is just to kind of dry off your brush, and then go ahead and kind of soak up some of that water with your brush, and the pigment will come with it. See how even though this is supposed to be super simple, I still somehow managed to overwork it a little bit. So you don't need to work it as much as I did. I just tend to, want to try and get it looking right, and then I just, do too much. But I think it still came out okay, and then this adhered to a panel and a card base makes a nice card. I did sign it there in the corner with my initials because why not? This is kind of a little personalized piece of art, so if you're giving it away to somebody, I think it's a nice little touch to let them know that you actually made this little painting, even though if it's super simple. So you can see here how the idea that I was going to be using flower stamps had started to kind of seep into my consciousness, because clearly now I'm kind of like putting grass on the bottom and then like adding in some dots for flowers and things like that. And I think that this last one actually didn't come out quite as nice because I was in my head like that. I think if I had just used like different blobs of color the way that I did for the first one, it might have turned out a little bit better, a little bit more interesting, a little bit more unique. But here I definitely had an idea in mind that I was going with, and funny enough, this ended up being my least favorite of the three that I did, and the one that I did first, where I really didn't know what I was going to be doing, ended up being my favorite. So I think that's just an idea, again, that keeping it simple is actually better. It actually turns out better and is more creative and more unique than kind of doing this, which, I had this in mind and it came out fine. I don't dislike it or anything like that. I just like the way that the other ones turned out a bit better. This one I'm not doing a frame with, I'm just doing these squares kind of in the corner. I was really actually just using up scraps of paper that had come from cutting the previous frames. I always like to use up my scraps, and so I thought this was kind of a cool effect, gave it kind of like an abstract, kind of minimalist, modernistic look to it. So there you have my cards done, and I'll admit it took everything in me not to add some gems, not to add some sparkle, but just to keep it very, very simple. Just the paper, just the watercolor images, just the stamp, and no other embellishments. So what do you guys think? I think this would be great if you were making like a gift set for somebody. Really quick and easy to do, but I think somebody would just love this if you gave this to them as a gift. So anyway, let me know what you think. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share. It's really helpful, and I will catch you the next time for our next creative adventures. Thank you so much for watching.